Hello everyone, this is part 78 of What If Naruto Meets the Nine Tails Early, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Kakukaku. Orochimaru-sama. Looks like we have company, Kabuto. Orochimaru, sitting in his throne in a sort of meditative state, awoke from his trance as his own eyes glowed an eerie purple. Well, I knew it wouldn't be long before Konoha caught wind of this. But to think they were this fast, Kabuto mused. Surely you didn't miss something, did you? Of course not, Kabuto, Orochimaru grinned. I knew Anko had sent off a summoned messenger. I could have easily taken command of the messenger myself. Of course, dear Hanabi-chan's messenger was a different story. So, what you're saying is Hanabi-chan's not the primary summoner of Byakko? Kabuto asked. No, but by letting the message get out, now the primary summoner is within my grasp, Orochimaru stated. Either way, Byakko will be mine, putting me all the closer to the godhood I so deserve. And, capturing dear Hinata-chan. If I may ask, who did Konoha send? Kabuto asked, already knowing the answer. Orochimaru didn't even have to say as Kabuto just shot his master another curious look. So you have to capture both Hinata-chan and Sasuke-kun. Kukaku, Orochimaru laughed. While it would be nice, that is no longer necessary. If Hinata-chan were to S here, then Hanabi-chan becomes the primary summoner. And Sasuke-kun is now expendable. I've already got the Sharingan. Kukaku, and Orochimaru looked down at his feet at the unconscious figure of the second female member of Team Anko, Katami. How is it that you managed to slip under the gaze of that old hawk now? Yes, that certainly was a surprise, Kabuto smiled, looking down at the girl as she appeared to be entering into the final stages of the planting of Orochimaru's cursed seal. Though to think you've implemented such a risky method as imparting them with your cursed seal. It's not risky if you already know the outcome, Kabuto, Orochimaru smiled. And besides, Anko trained them, so I know they can handle it. But, there is still one thorn that needs to be dealt with. Naruto-kun, Kabuto completed. If dear Naruto-kun can remove Anko's seal, then he's become too dangerous to be left alive, Orochimaru said. And how do you propose we deal with them? Kabuto inquired as Orochimaru just laughed. I have just the pawn. One who can not only fight the Kyuubi, but also combat the Edo Tensei's weakness, that is Fuinjutsu. Orochimaru grinned as he made the infamous seal. Edo Tensei. And as the three coffins rose from the ground, even Kabuto's eyes widened. Well, you certainly are full of surprises, Orochimaru-sama. Uchiha Mikoto, Hyuga Hikari, and Uzumaki Kushina. To think you were in the possession of them. But I feel as if I'm one short, Orochimaru mused. I can take care of Tsunde's apprentice, Kabuto offered. It'll give me an opportunity just to see how well Tsunde's trained her. Ka-san-chan. That was the only word spoken by Naruto, Hinata, and Sasuke as three coffins rose before them. They knew the telltale signs of the Edo Tensei. And with Naruto here, they were ready for anything that could have emerged from those coffins. They weren't ready for this. Uchiha Mikoto, Hyuga Hikari, and Uzumaki Kushina. Their mothers. Of all the deceased Orochimaru could have defiled, it had to be them. Itachi. No wait, it can't be, Sasuke. Mikoto was the first one to speak. Hikari simply smiled. Hi Hinata. Okasan, Hinata nearly teared up. This was brutal. The tenseness in the air was thick enough to see with a knife. Everyone knew what was coming. Kaken. Naruto asked, looking towards Kushina, who was tearing up at the sight of her grown-up son. If anyone knew what was going on here, it was Kushina. She was aware of what was in the forbidden scroll of sealing, and she was aware, or at least had heard of, this jutsu which was allowing her to be here. I'm sorry, Naruto, Kushina apologized. I'm glad I could see you, one more time, but, suddenly Kushina snapped her attention as her eyes grew gray. You know what you have to do, and with that, Kushina's consciousness was replaced by one whom nearly made Naruto vomit on spot. Oops. Going to have to keep you on a short leash, Orochimaru spoke through Kushina. You're supposed to keep dear Naruto-kun from sealing the three of you away. Can't have you telling him everything you're going to do to counter him. You're going to regret this, Orochimaru, Mikoto growled. Not even hell is enough for you. Oh my, Mikoto-chan, Orochimaru of Kushina grinned. But you see, I will continue to live on. I will live on through your very own son. Mikoto then looked over towards the 3 children before her. You 3 need to stop us. And then you need to kill this snake that's controlling us. None of them wanted to do this. The children didn't want to fight their very own mothers, and the mothers certainly were appalled at the very thought they were being ordered to kill their children. Sasuke was the first to move. Naruto. Naruto shook himself out of his stupor as Sasuke ignited the Chidori in his hand and shot it forward towards Mikoto, hoping to injure her body so that Naruto would be able to seal her away. But the Chidori spear, was blocked. It was blocked as Hikari moved in front of Mikoto wielding a pair of twin sayas in hand, both of which had long blue ribbons coming off of the handles. Sasuke was surprised at first to have an A-rank jutsu blocked by a pair thin sayas, but then he saw the chakra coursing through them. Right, that's where you got your wind chakra from, Hinata. Hi. Hikari seemed to smile by those words. How did your father take it? Hikari asked. I know the Hyuga clan are rather particular about their chakra affinities, among other things. Though if there was one reassuring thing Hikari could see, it was that Hinata's forehead didn't bear a particular cursed seal. Hinata smiled. He took it well. The clan has changed, is changing. I see, thank you dear, Hikari smiled. And how's your sister? She's fine, she will be fine, Tobayo. A mother shouldn't have to worry, not when they were already being ordered to kill one of the daughters. And Hikari returned with a knowing smile. The way Naruto stood beside Hinata, she couldn't help but laugh warmly, at least as warm as was possible in the belly of a snake. Hinata-chan, Sasuke, I'm going to go Kyuubi version 2, blow him away with a Bijudama. That will give me plenty of time to seal them while they're regenerating. They didn't like the thought of Naruto going Kyuubi on their mothers, but these weren't their mothers. These were just another plot of Orochimaru's to get to them. They looked like their mothers, they talked like their mothers, but they were suffering as well, forced here against their wills. Sasuke and Hinata nodded, retreating behind Naruto as red chakra engulfed Naruto and blue and red spheres quickly gathered around Kyuubi Naruto's mouth. But Kushina let out a telling smile, and the forming Bijudama shattered. From the ground just below Naruto, a golden chain struck Naruto right in the navel, right in his seal. And the red chakra covering Naruto immediately vanished as the blonde fell to the ground coughing. Naruto-kun. But Mikoto and Hikari were able to take advantage as Mikoto flung a dozen kunai at them and Hikari threw her CS towards. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Mikoto called out and Sasuke's eyes widened as he was now staring down over 100 kunai. He could see them, he could probably block many of them. But he couldn't stop all of them. Protection of the 8 trigrams. Hinata got in the way and deflected the kunai which would have hit Sasuke and Naruto. And the sayas were harmlessly deflected to the side. Good thing you've developed your own version of the Hyuga's ultimate defense, Hikari smiled. You see, the wind chakra in my sayas when they made contact with Thaikaiton got caught in the rotation. But instead of being deflected, they would wrap around the chitin and once the rotation stopped, I had them caught. Hiashi had mentioned to Hinata that her mother could counter many of the Hyuga techniques. But she wasn't fighting with the standard Hyuga techniques. No, this was the result of blending Hikari's style with the Hyuga techniques. Naruto, get up. Naruto coughed out again before standing to his feet. Yeah, I'm fine. How about you, Kurama? Silence. Kurama. Once again, Kurama wasn't responding. Naruto tried making the hand seal for the shadow clone jutsu and thankfully, a dozen clones appeared. This would give him a moment to turn inwards and check in on Kurama. Arriving within his seal, Naruto found Kurama knocked out cold. That sealing chain Kushina had unleashed wasn't meant to take him out, it was meant to take out Kurama. And she had succeeded. Kurama was unconscious, his chakra suppressed. And how long he'd be out, Naruto didn't know. As Naruto returned to the fight, he smiled as the clones managed to get near Mikoto and Hikari, who were standing in front of and apparently guarding Kushina. And as they cut off the last of the clones, the seals Naruto had embedded within the clones quickly went to work, immobilizing them. That was 2 down, only Kushina to go. But as quickly as they thought they had this fight in the bag, Kushina made a quick hand sign and channeled chakra into her hands before tagging Mikoto and Hikari on the backs. Uzumaki style, seal immolation. He should have known better. That's why Orochimaru was keeping Kushina back. That's also why he was suppressing Kushina's consciousness. Hikari and Mikoto could attack, but Naruto would try to seal their movements. And Kushina was a seal master in her own right. Who was the better seal master between Kushina and Minato? Well, Kushina claimed it was Minato and Minato claimed it was Kushina. Either way, sealing these three off would be a challenge. Good attempt, Naruto-kun, Mikoto stated. Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other and nodded. Kaiten, great fire destruction. Futon, great breakthrough. Naruto and Sasuke launched a combined fire and wind jutsu. Sasuke's was one of the most powerful fire jutsus he had in his arsenal. And while Naruto's was one of the more basic ones, it was his go-to for a reason. It was simple, but it blended almost seamlessly with Sasuke's fire. And all Naruto had to adjust the power to match. Kaiten, great fireball jutsu. Futon, great breakthrough. Hikari and Mikoto countered. Their counter wasn't as strong as Naruto and Sasuke, but it was enough to slow the pace of their inferno, long enough for Kushina to act. Uzumaki style Fuin, fire seal. TSK, she's just as annoying as you, Naruto, Sasuke scoffed as the growing inferno simply disappeared within a seal. Where do you think I get it from? Naruto grinned. As soon as the fire began to disappear, Hinata rushed forward, Yusho, twin lion's fist glowing in her hands. And she engaged Hikari while Sasuke deflected a number of shuriken aimed for Hinata from Mikoto. Your shurikenjutsu has gotten good, Sasuke. You might even be able to give your brother a run for his money, Mikoto smiled. The way she placed them within each other, those weren't easy to deflect. And the mention of Itachi's name, it stung with Sasuke. Hinata and Hikari clashed, or rather it was like they danced. Hinata struck with her fists and Hikari spun around her strikes while striking out at Hinata with her seis. But Hinata too evaded the blades. It was a choreographed dance and neither Hikari nor Hinata could help but smile. But now, Hikari was distracted. She couldn't deflect Sasuke's Chidori Iso. Though, there was potentially another wind user on the team, Sasuke shot his spear towards Kushina while Hinata held back Hikari. And as Mikoto tried to do something, she was stopped. Rasengan. Naruto's signature jutsu hit Mikoto, blowing apart her right arm and torso. Now they had an opportunity to seal away one of them. Naruto placed his hand against Mikoto before sealing her, this time with a few layered seals that would be harder to simply destroy. And the regeneration of the Edo Tensei had halted. But before Naruto could do anything else, Hinata called out, her Byakugan noticing something moving under the ground. And Naruto was forced to retreat just as a half-dozen golden chains erupted from the ground and nearly impaled him again. Kushina then placed her hand on Mikoto's back and a flash of chakra, the seals Naruto had placed were being undone. Damn it, Naruto swore as Mikoto now reformed and he noticed now that Mikoto's eyes had turned red, the Sharingan. I'll take care of my mother this time, Sasuke said as Sharingan met Sharingan. Hinata, take care of yours. Naruto, you need to seal yours. Otherwise, she's just going to keep undoing the seals. Yeah, Naruto nodded. Hinata-chan, follow me. Exploding clone jutsu. Hikari was blitzed with some exploding clones and as Hinata charged through the smoke to engage a Hikari who was struggling to keep herself together. Naruto had her. He managed to avoid Kushina's final defensive attempt with her chains. But as he placed a seal over top Kushina's stomach, going to seal off her chakra and her attempt to fight, the sealing matrix glowed red before burning off and a red version 1 chakra cloak engulfed her. Naruto wasn't sure if the Kyuubi chakra within her was some relic of the Edo Tensei, or if she had stolen a bit when she struck out at Kurama with her chain at the start, but right now that didn't matter. Or rather that wasn't his biggest concern. She can use Kyuubi chakra too. Sasuke groaned annoyingly. Yeah, she was kind of Kurama's Jinchuriki before me, Naruto nervously smiled. Of course she was, Sasuke sighed. This was certainly where Naruto got all of his Naruto-ness from. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto made over a dozen clones. Work on getting rid of this barrier. And get a seal ready, something stronger. The clone army saluted. The barrier had currently limited them to the main room which they were in. It was large enough for them to freely move and maneuver, and to use some of their more destructive jutsus. But there was no cover. It was a plain room, with the only feature being a pair of already altars. There were a few rooms off to the side which would make perfect cover if they needed to prepare something, like a more powerful seal which Naruto wanted to surprise Kushina with. Looking over to Kushina, the red chakra had retreated. Maybe it was stolen chakra. Maybe it was limited. Although, when Naruto had spoken to Kushina that one time, it wasn't in her nature to use Kyuubi chakra willingly. Hinata-chan, you alright? Naruto looked over towards Hinata, who had retreated from engaging Hikari. She was starting to look up. Not that Hikari wasn't showing signs of damage either, but Hikari was an immortal husk who could regenerate. Hinata was not. She'd avoided the worst. But against her own mother, Hinata wasn't able to be as aloof as against most other. Alright, new plan, Hinata, you go after my mom, I'll go after yours, Naruto stated. Keep Kaken busy. You can see her chains and if she uses Kyuubi chakra. I'll go hard on Hikari, seal her off and then help with Kaken before she can get to Hikari. Sasuke, you good with Mikoto? Yeah, Sasuke nodded before turning to face his own mother again. Sure, this was Thedo Tensei, but even then this was his own mother standing there. No matter how closed off Sasuke was, every minute he looked at her, he was reminded of that night, 8 years ago, when he ran through the Uchiha district to find her lying in a puddle of her own bee in front of his father, and Itachi standing behind him as his father through the heart. He thought with Itachi gone, those wounds would have healed. But wounds like those never heal completely. They needed to end this quick. Sasuke and Mikoto clashed again, Sharingan against Sharingan. Sasuke, Mikoto smiled. You've grown. And I see you've made some friends that trust you. Both Itachi and I are happy with the path you've chosen. What do you mean, you and Itachi? Itachi KU, Sasuke shot back. And then I know, Mikoto smiled, before looking apologetically towards Kushina. But Sasuke, Itachi didn't K me. Didn't Ju. What do you mean by that? Sasuke disengaged as his emotions, his anger, and his pain were starting to swell again. But Mikoto's Sharingan shifted and spun. And what her eyes now looked like was a slightly twisted black triangle against a red background. Sasuke's eyes widened upon seeing what she had. Mangekyo. Tsukuyomi. X. Sasuke looked around as the world around him turned black and red. How did his mother have the Mangekyo? But something was off. He looked up and he tried to move, but he was bundled up in a blanket. No, that shouldn't be able to stop him. But why did his body feel so weak? Sasuke looked up and there was Mikoto, her face and hat above him but looking down at him with a motherly look. Wait, had she made the genjutsu so that he was a baby? This was going to be annoying. Good. While in the real world, Orochimaru controls my boy's actions, in here my mind is my own. Orochimaru will not reach us in here, and by the time he realizes something is off, it will be too late. Let me tell you what really happened that night. But before that, we have to go back a few years. Sasuke felt as Mikoto stood up, cradling her son in her arms as she walked through the village before coming to a stop, tears welling up in her eye. What was she looking at? Well, standing in front of her was Kushina, and one with a rather pregnant belly. Kushina appeared to be oblivious to the tears on Mikoto's face as the redhead greeted Mikoto in the illusionary world. So, this is Sasuke, eh? Kushina smiled. And this was where the real tea of the Tsukuyomi began as Kushina went to pinch Sasuke's cheek. And he could do nothing to resist this. You named him after the third's father. The elderly lady, Biwoko, asked Mikoto. Sarutobi Sasuke was a strong and noble shinobi, Mikoto said. We're hoping Sasuke will grow up to be the same. Say Mikoto, Kushina whispered. Is childbirth really as strong as they say it is? And Mikoto just chucked before the world shifted and turned. Now, Sasuke had his 16-year-old body back and he was standing next to Mikoto in the nursery ward in the hospital. And looking through the glass at what Mikoto was looking at, Sasuke spotted an infant which he immediately recognized as Naruto. Kushina was the wife of the Hokage, and the present Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Everything about her pregnancy was top secret. And I was one of the very few who knew of her pregnancy, and whose child she bore. On the night the Kyuubi attacked, your father and I were outside of the village. We rushed back after we received news of the attack, and were thankful both you and Itachi were unharmed. But Minato and Kushina, both had perished in the attack, and now their child was marked with the same burden Kushina herself bore. How the Kyuubi escape, I didn't know at the time. But in the coming months and years, rumors began to swirl that when the Kyuubi attacked, he was seen with a Sharingan in his eyes. Suspicion shifted to the Uchiha clan. And I confronted your father. I knew of Kushina's pregnancy and the timing of when she'd give birth. The circle who knew was small, and only those whom Minato and Kushina explicitly trusted knew the details. But there was one other whom I told, and that was your father. Your father and Minato were on the same team and they trusted each other with their lives, Mikoto continued. I didn't suspect him, even as the rumors began to swirl. But then the Uchiha started distancing themselves from the village, though the Uchiha would say the village was isolating them. We were now the prime suspects in the opinions of the village higher-ups for the Kyuubi attack. But you wouldn't. Mikoto's silence only furthered to prove her point. I don't know if the Uchiha did or not. But the suspicion was growing and tensions within the clan against the village were starting to show. We were being isolated, observed, and plotted against. The genjutsu shifted to the sealed chamber underneath the Uchiha district. Here, Uchiha Fugaku had gathered most of the clan. Mikoto stood beside him, silent and distraught. Sasuke, though, he couldn't believe what he was hearing from his father and from his clan, rebellion. They were talking about actively opposing the village. They were planning an outright coup d'etat. At some point, I began to question Fugaku on whether or not he had anything to do with the Kyuubi attack. And he remained evasive, trying to shift the conversation to the village and their alienation of the Uchiha. And at some point, I began to blame myself for Kushina's death. That's how I got these eyes. However, Itachi's loyalties were with the village. That can't be, he's a traitor and the village marked him a criminal. In this, Itachi chose his side, he chose the village. In Chaos our clan, Itachi stopped an imminent civil war that would have seen Konoha severely weakened. Regardless of who came out the victor, hundreds of shinobi and countless innocents would have S. And more would have S following as the other villages. The genjutsu then shifted to the same scene Sasuke had watched replay over and over in his head, the night of the M. Only this time, it was Mikoto and Fugaku in their house. They were arguing over everything else that had been discussed. The Uchiha were going to rebel. By the time Itachi acted, it was too late to save them. Even all of the talking I had with Fugaku, after all the attempts where I tried to persuade him to stand down, he was going to go through with it. So if father was going to take over the village, you didn't agree with him? No. All I saw that came out of this foolish ambition of his was death. Mikoto shouted. The Kyuubi attacked, and Kushina S. She S because of me, because I betrayed her. And then Hikari S, and as the Uchiha grew more distant, I couldn't help but feel alone. The Uchiha were strong, but they were not strong enough to take over the village. We all would have S anyways. The genjutsu progressed if only by a few minutes, and Sasuke and Mikoto watched the scene in front of them unfold. S. Fukagu looked at Mikoto defiantly as she laid a strong palm across his face. Don't you care about our sons? About their future? Their future is with the Uchiha, with our clan. With the Uchiha running the village, their future will be bright. Bright. They'll be S. Mikoto then turned away from Fugaku and started walking towards the door. Mikoto, where are you going? To find Sasuke. Goodbye, Fugoku. A mother's loyalty is to her children above all else. Above the village. And above the clan. The direction Fugaku was taking the clan in would lead to its ruin. I had hoped that maybe, I could find you, and get you away from the clan. It was probably too late for me, but at the very least, maybe there was a chance my sons would be spared. But Itachi was the one who killed everyone. Just watch. Mikoto didn't make it to the door. She crumpled to the ground as numerous kunai embedded themselves in her legs and back. And then Fugaku walked up behind Mikoto, grabbing her hair and holding a blade at her teeth. Metal C just as the door into the house opened and there was Itachi, dressed in his Anbu gear, stained with the B of his clan, watching his father his mother. So you've chosen your side then, Itachi? Fugaku asked, looking at Itachi, who was simply staring at the S body of his mother. It's over, father. Everyone else is S, Itachi replied. I see. Fugaku resigned, falling to his knees in submission. Very well then, I don't wish to have a deathmatch with my own son. Itachi walked towards Fugaku, keeping his eyes on the Uchiha clan leader for anything he might try to pull. But a slight tug at his leg caused Itachi's attention to drift downward. Itachi, Sasuke. It's okay, Carson. I've made sure Sasuke will be alright. I see. The scene then, which Sasuke was all too familiar with, repeated itself. Itachi ran his blade through Fugaku's heart. And Sasuke entered the house at the very time when Itachi killed Fugaku. The scene around Mikoto and Sasuke changed and shifted again. This time, they were standing on a battlefield of the Third Great Shinobi War where her squad of Tsunade, Hikari, Kushina, herself, and a young Itachi in tow raced between the B, in hopes of finding any survivors. I should not have exposed Itachi to such evils this young, Mikoto said. However, the battle was over, and we were just looking to save any life we could. But from this, Itachi witnessed the horrors of war. And fearing that an Uchiha uprising would bring about another war, he acted. He turned against the Uchiha. And by doing so, you lived. But Itachi, he hated me, I hated him, he told me to hate him, made me hate him. No, Sasuke, Mikoto smiled. The smile on her face was immediately replaced by the same face Itachi gave. A smile. And it was the same smile Mikoto had on her face as she knowing Sasuke would live. Itachi loved you. Maybe even more than I loved you. It can't. And with that admission, the world of the Tsukuyomi began to twist and crack, tears falling out of Sasuke's eyes as his own heart began to shatter. He was the one who killed Itachi. No. Sasuke. Naruto and Hinata looked over to see Sasuke cry out before crumpling to the ground. What happened? What did you do? Naruto looked up and his eyes widened as Mikoto's eyes shifted. They weren't the typical Sharingan. Mangekyo, then, Sasuke. I just gave him something that the three of you will need to bring about an end to this, Mikoto said. Mikoto. What did you do? Orochimaru growled through Kushina, before her chains shot outward with a new seal attached to them, Hikari and Mikoto in the back of the heads. I knew I shouldn't have let you two off your leashes. Naruto, look after Sasuke for me, okay? Hinata, tell your father, I still love him. And with that, the eyes of Mikoto and Hikari turned gray as Orochimaru overwrote their personalities. Underneath his hands, Naruto could feel Sasuke shift and the Uchiha looked up at him, sweaty, panting, but something noticeably different with his eyes. Sasuke, your eyes, Naruto pointed out. Instead of the red Sharingan, Sasuke's eyes now contained a red six-pointed lotus against a black background. Sasuke caught a glimpse, a reflection of his own eyes in Naruto's Hatei 8. Mangekyo. Sasuke stood up as the three mothers regrouped in formation, albeit more robotically this time. Why did you have to show me that? Everything was fine until you showed me that, mother. Orochimaru took their personalities, Naruto said. Now they really are just corpses that look like them. Damn it, Sasuke swore as he felt the anger build up inside him. It burned, and it focused around his eye as a tear of B emerged from his left eye. Black flames erupted and they engulfed Kushina. She was still their priority. Without her, Naruto could seal everyone away. Go. Naruto and Hinata nodded and engaged Mikoto and Hikari. And as Naruto was able to some immobilization seals on them, that's when the black flames of Amaterasu bubbled red before falling to the ground in a sort of red and black mess. The golden chains then returned and pushed both Naruto and Hinata back to where Sasuke was standing and Kushina proceeded to break the chains. Tsukubi chakra can wipe away the flames of Amaterasu now. Sasuke tsk'd. Not extinguish, Hinata pointed out. It looked like you lit the chakra on fire, not Kushina-san. Sort of like a protective armor. Boss. Naruto looked back as his clones returned, handing the blonde Uzumaki a set of sealing tags and Naruto nodded. Around them, the barrier that was keeping them contained began to crack before shattering as well, his clones coming through. So, what's the plan? Sasuke asked. Do you think you can do that again? On all three of them this time? Naruto asked. Kaken will just use Kurama's chakra again, but that's what I want. I need to draw that chakra out of her, otherwise sealing her is going to be much harder than I'd like. And if on cue, a massive tremor shook throughout the base. Sounds like Sakura-chan's having fun with Kabuto. Yeah, the less time she spends with that weasel, the better, Sasuke agreed. Naruto handed Sasuke and Hinata each a sealing tag. 3 points. Once you ignite them, take up positions, Naruto said. Be careful of the flames. Once they're lit, they don't go out until everything they're touching is consumed, Sasuke warned before getting a ready nod from the rest of the team. Channeling chakra back into his eye, he activated the Amaterasu again. It stung, and more bee dripped from his eye, but all 3 Edo Tenseis erupted in black flames. And with that, Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata moved into position. All Hinata and Sasuke had to do was move into position and activate the tags. Naruto on the other hand, well, the purpose of this seal was to extract the Kyuubi chakra from Kushina. Once that was done though, he needed to seal it somewhere. And that somewhere was back inside himself. Maybe, this would wake Kurama up. Uzumaki style, demonic extraction seal. Naruto called out as the red Kyuubi chakra began to appear around Kushina. That was just what he needed. And as the seal activated, Kushina tried to hang on to the Kyuubi chakra, but it was being sucked into the seal, and into Naruto. And as the last of the red chakra left Kushina, Naruto grinned before activating the second seal within those tags. Uzumaki style, whirlpool capture. The sealing matrix on the floor swirled and Kushina, along with the flaming Mikoto and Hikari were pulled together into the middle of the seal. This was one of the strongest immobilization seals Naruto had that he could put together in a limited amount of time. Now in contact with Mikoto and Hikari, the flames of Amaterasu engulfed all 3 of them. The seal was holding, and the flames were consuming. Now as they began to reform, Naruto could properly seal them away. But not all things go as planned. The golden chains returned, 3 of the ends each held the corner sealing tags Naruto and the team had set down, cancelling the whirlpool capture seal and allowing the 3 burning corpses to run freely towards their children. Don't let them touch you. Sasuke warned as he and Hinata played keep away while Kushina went to work sealing away the flames engulfing her, followed by the ones engulfing Mikoto and Hikari. Those chains were annoying. What else do you have, Naruto? Sasuke asked. And as he was doing that, Naruto was thinking, looking through every seal he had in his mind which he could possibly make in this situation that had a chance to stop their mothers. The issue was, every one of those seals, he was certain Kushina could counter. Every seal, except one. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Over 100 Narutos filled the chamber. Now the chamber was large, but with this many copies of Naruto, it was starting to feel a little cramped. Do you have something? Sasuke asked. I have one seal I can think of, Naruto replied. But it will take time to prepare, and I need to prepare it personally. The 2 of you and my clones need to keep them busy. For how long? As long as you can, Naruto replied, retrieving his sword from his belt. I just hope Mifune-sensei and Nobu-Oji forged this sword correctly. We'll give you all the time you need, Naruto-kun. Just don't take too long, Dobe. X. Shanaru. Oh, you're a feisty one, Kabuto grinned as he once again dodged a Widowmaker from Sakura. She got the jump on him once, when he went to check on her, Hanabi, and Anko inside one of his personal examination rooms. And that's where she landed a heart-crushing punch on him. Thank you replacement jutsu. And even then, through the replacement, he felt it. Medical nins were never meant to be frontline fighters, and yet here the 2 of them were duking it out. Sakura's monstrous strength versus Kabuto's slippery chakra scalpels. And after what Sakura had seen done to Anko, after she had seen inside Kabuto's own personal laboratories, yes, screw all that, no medical nins on the front line, crap. She was going to knock Kabuto's head off, something Kabuto acknowledged was entirely possible. Thanks to his own personal medical jutsu, he could regenerate a lot. But a missing head was one of the very few things he was pretty sure he couldn't regrow. Sakura began the fight out trying to capture Kabuto in all manner of genjutsu. However, genjutsu required taking control of one's chakra flow. And taking control of chakra that belonged to someone with perfect chakra control was a challenge, something only the most accomplished genjutsu users could accomplish. And as much as she hated to admit it, Kabuto had perfect chakra control. That sly grin on Kabuto's face was really beginning to piss her off. He wasn't doing much, just hanging barely outside of her reach. But she was doing well, nearly had Kabuto cornered. Kabuto jumped out of the way of yet another punch by Sakura. But while he tried to move away from her follow-up, his back was against the wall. So, if he was going to take a hit, so was Sakura. He just had to minimize the damage. That he could do. Shanaru. Sakura shouted her signature battle cry. She had Kabuto in her sights, it was time to end the traitor. And as satisfying as it was to feel Kabuto's bones crack against her knuckles, Kabuto had shifted his position just enough so that instead of hitting him square in the sea, she hit him just underneath the right rib. The wall behind Kabuto cracked and crumbled, and the entire structure quaked as the right hand of Orochimaru was forced through stone. But that grin on his face unnerved Sakura. Kabuto wasn't this sloppy. Sure, he had calculated a dodge that would minimize the damage. He could regenerate soft tissue so long as his heart was still beating and his head attached. But as Sakura went to take another breath, she couldn't. That bastard. He severed my diaphragm, Sakura thought as she struggled for breath. Without the diaphragm, it was nearly impossible to breathe. And in the process of that punch, she had expelled the air within her. She was running out of oxygen as she raced to heal her diaphragm. In the rubble of the next chamber over, Kabuto coughed up B. That hurt, Kabuto internally admitted. A few cracked ribs, a collapsed lung, and a crushed kidney, nothing I can't regenerate. And so the next contest between Sakura and Kabuto began, who could heal themselves faster. Sakura could feel her head go faint, and as she did, she quickly reached into her pack and unsealed from her scroll a respirator, a standard piece of equipment med-nins carried with them when extensive CPR was required. She could either draw oxygen into herself with her diaphragm and intercostal muscles, or she could force it in from the outside. And right now, she needed to force it into her. With a burst of oxygen, Sakura could get back to doing what she needed to do while Kabuto did the same. And I'm so close too, Sakura thought as she was making progress on healing. It's almost ready, and wait, he's not attacking, he's just stalling, that slimy roach. But, I can take advantage of this as well. That's right, Kabuto was just toying with her. He wasn't attacking her, he was just dancing out of the way. He was stalling. Was he waiting for Orochimaru? Was he waiting for the Edo Tenseis to finish up with the rest of her team? Speaking of Edo Tenseis, that's really a new low, resurrecting their own mothers. Cha, I'm going to clobber that roach. But, if he could stall, so could she. She could feel it. She was almost there, almost where she needed to be in order to unleash her full power. And after a few more minutes, Sakura could finally breathe on her own. As she approached the hole in the wall Kabuto made, she sighed. The four-eyed weasel was on his feet. His clothes were torn and stained, but the body underneath appeared to be healed. Damn. Well, you are the apprentice of Tsunade, so I shouldn't be surprised, Kabuto grinned, before activating his chakra scalpels again. Maybe next time I should go for the heart. Next time, it won't matter what you hit. Because you'll be paint on the walls, Sakura taunted. Be not my first choice of color, but somehow this place makes it work. Now, they just waited. Waited for the other to make a move. Then Sakura felt it, and a grin found its way onto her face. It was time. Oh Kabuto, what are the 4 rules that medical ninja must follow? You're kidding, right? Fine, I'll humor you, Kabuto shrugged. First, no medical ninja shall ever stop medical treatment until the lives of their party members have come to an end. Second, no medical ninja shall ever stand on the front line. And lastly, no medic ninja shall ever s until they are the last of their platoon, Kabuto said. There are only 3 rules. Be thankful I'm willing to allow you to accomplish the 3rd rule. But I assure you once those 3 are finished, you'll follow them into the afterlife shortly after. And then Sakura cracked her knuckles and engaged Kabuto much more vigorously. But as Sakura threw a punch, Kabuto ducked underneath her, thrusting upward with his chakra scalpel and L through her C. Kabuto had punctured her heart. But my patience is growing thin, Kabuto grinned. But Sakura was smiling as well. Someone who just threw themselves away like that shouldn't be smiling. What? Kabuto tried to remove his arm from Sakura, but the girl wouldn't let go. Got you now. You won't be weaseling your way out of this one. But how? Rule number 4. Only medical ninja who have mastered the Byakugo are permitted to discard the above-mentioned laws, Sakura smiled. And Kabuto saw it, a diamond-shaped seal beginning to appear on Sakura's forehead. That's... Kabuto gasped. You really are her apprentice, aren't you? With those last words, Kabuto took a strong right hook to the sea as Sakura drilled him into the ground, cracking the floor underneath S center in the sea, the same location where he had run her through. But the difference was that she was healing. Even with her heart Thebyakugo seal now present on her forehead was healing. The floor beneath Kabuto continued to crack and crumble before finally giving way, the body of Kabuto Yakushi falling into the dark abyss. Naruto looked down at his work, the sealing matrix inscribed onto his blade given to him by Mifune-sensei. For what he was about to do, absolute perfection was key. And unlike ink and paper, metal only allowed for a single attempt. Every character, every kanji, and every stroke had to be perfect. And as far as he could tell, they were. Nodding to a clone, Naruto removed his jacket and shirt underneath as a chakra pen lit up in the clone's hand. The seal on the blade was complete, now he just needed to link the blade to himself. The clone continued the seal matrix up Naruto's right arm and eventually over his heart before concluding. All the while, Naruto was gritting. Inscribing a seal matrix on bare skin felt a lot like getting a tattoo. Most seals used ink, but this seal wasn't most seals. No, this seal was amongst the masterworks of the Uzumaki clan. And as such, normal ink wouldn't suffice. The seal needed either B or chakra to act as the ink. Naruto and his clone examined the final product before he replaced his shirt and jacket. Now came the hard part. What he was about to do to his own mother didn't sit well with him, but this was the only option. Once he did what he was about to do, she wouldn't be able to rest, having been sealed away within his blade. Not until that was the secret behind the fabled Uzumaki swords. They sealed their family and comrades away within their swords, delaying the peace of the afterlife. Returning back to Sasuke and Hinata, they looked worse for the wear. In a battle of attrition, immortal corpses who could infinitely regenerate won. And the battle looked like it was starting to take its toll, especially on Hinata. But Sasuke still stood there defiantly. Naruto, I hope you're ready, Sasuke shouted. I am. Keep Mikoto and Hikari occupied. I'll take care of Kaken now. Forgive me, Kaken, Naruto said as he channeled chakra into the sword and went through the seals of the Uzumaki clan. And upon doing so, the blade began to glow a deep blue before erupting into a vibrant flame. Kushina didn't bother dodging. As far as Orochimaru was concerned, Kushina could counter every seal possible. Even without Kyuubi chakra, those chains had proved to be potent. They could seal and suppress chakra, and that meant they could suppress the chakra of seals. They were the ultimate weapon against Fuinjutsu. But against this seal, once Kushina was impaled with the sword, Orochimaru's control was gone. Secret Uzumaki Fuinjutsu, Soulforge. Kushina began to crack and falter. The Edo Tensei body which held her soul prisoner was failing now that her soul was no longer sealed within. But before Kushina's soul was fully absorbed, and with Orochimaru's hold on her gone, she had a brief moment to get a few words to her son. My precious Naruto. Thank you. I'm sorry, Kaken. Sorry Orochimaru brought you back. Sorry I had to use this seal on you. Why? That was the last word Kushina got out before she disappeared with a smile into the sword. Now, all they had to do was seal away Hikari and Mikoto. Konoha. What was that? Karen asked as she felt something. She was sitting atop the monument, at Monument Park, overlooking Konohagakure. And she wasn't alone. Keiko, Nobu, and Hiro were with her as well. Unfortunately, with the most recent incident, Mifune and Keirai had found themselves preoccupied with the fallout. But looking over at her kindred, it seemed like they felt it as well. Elsewhere in Konoha, with a swing of the Kubikiri Bocho, Zabuza repelled Sugetsu. With news of Anko being captured by Orochimaru, the former Kirinin didn't know how to feel, or rather he didn't really know how to worry. For him, the best way he could worry was to work off some of this pent-up frustration. Tsunade didn't let him go on the rescue mission, and that pissed him off. However, as Zabuza relaxed his blade, an intricate sealing matrix on the sword lit up before disappearing. It had never done that before as far as Zabuza was concerned. Somewhere in Kirigakure. And Zabuza's sword wasn't the only one acting odd. Samehada especially, considering it was a living weapon, shuddered while strapped to the back of one Hoshigaki Kisame. Omegakure. My Lord Pain. Everyone who remains has gathered. We need to decide what to do about the remaining Biju, a purple-haired woman addressed the ring-eyed leader of Akatsuki. But the leader remained still. My lord. Again, no response out of the leader. Worried that something had happened, the woman sprouted a pair of paper wings and flew off towards the highest point in the city. Nagato. Conan's presence snapped Nagato, the red-haired controller of the 6 Paths of Pain, out of a trance he appeared to be in. Sorry Conan. I don't know what came over me, Nagato said. What is it you needed? I said everyone has gathered to discuss what to do about the remaining Biju, Conan reiterated. Very well. Back in Konoha, in the Anbu holding chambers. Any word from Hokage-sama? Hiashi asked as he and Tsunade continued their waiting in silence. But there was no answer from Tsunade as her attention appeared to be focused on something out in the distance. Hokage-sama. Oh. Sorry Hiashi. I don't know, Tsunade said. She had completely zoned out there for a minute. I just had a feeling. A feeling. Yes, but it was a good feeling. I don't know how to describe it otherwise. In the outer islands of Water Country, Uzumaki Ren looked up to the sky. A feeling had come over him. One he couldn't explain, but it was enough to distract him from messages he was reading over. His latest lead suggested that his sister, Honoka, was somewhere deep within Water Country, somewhere that was only vaguely referred to as Summon Island. Now the question was, how did he get there? In a faraway land. Well, would you look at that, Chigusa? Yes, I felt it too, dear Eiji. Haven't felt that since the old days when the city still stood. An elderly couple sat at a tea house atop a hill. Both of them sported red hair, though it was beginning to gray. Shall we get going then? With how fast we move these days, it will take us some time to get there. Can't miss the return of Whirlpool now, can we? Sakura. Sakura-chan. Sakura-san. Naruto, Hinata, and Sasuke rushed to see Sakura standing next to a giant hole in the floor, the same hole which she'd punched Kabuto through. Hinata, can you see down there? I hit him good, but you never know with roaches like him, Sakura asked, and Hinata activated her Byakugan but shook her head. I can't see him at the end of this tunnel. This entire place is resistant to the Byakugan, Hinata said. After so far, it just goes black. Orochimaru must have had the Byakugan in mind when he built this stronghold. Let me see, Naruto said, making a shadow clone. Said shadow clone simply saluted before jumping into the black hole of doom. And after waiting quite a few moments, Naruto winced. That hole goes down far. My clone was falling all that time before hitting the bottom and dispelling. Do you think he's gone? Hinata asked. Gone. Maybe. Like I said, I hit him good, but we all know how Kabuto is, Sakura said. Without a body, I'm not counting him as. How's Hanabi? Hinata asked, walking over to her sister. Her vitals seem stable, but she's unconscious. Not to mention Orochimaru's cursed seal is messing with her chakra flow, but Hanabi's not the one I'm concerned about, Sakura said as she pointed to the opposite corner of the room. And there, they saw the prone figure of Anko, unclothed and her body riddled with wounds, bruises, punctures, and more. She's alive, but barely. I think I've managed to stop the main sources of B, but even I can tell, she's lost a lot of B. And those wounds on her, they weren't random strikes. They were calculated and intentional. Inflicted to deal the most amount of suffering while barely keeping her alive. I need to do whatever I can to stabilize her for transport for when the relief squad arrives. Hanabi-chan, Anko-sensei, Hinata counted. Then that just leaves. Yeah, we're still missing one, Sasuke said as he looked down towards Naruto, who was in a meditative pose, before the telltale pigments appeared around his eyes and he stood up. I can't sense Kabuto anywhere around here, Naruto stated. But, there are 2 others within this base. One of them is the Snake Team himself. The other one is similar to Hanabi, that's gotta be Katami. I can also sense Kakashi-sensei, Ero-sennin, Bushy-brows-sensei, and Shizune-nichan. They're not too far out, but... Sakura, Hinata, the 2 of you stay here, Sasuke said. Do what you can for Hanabi and Anko. As for Naruto and I. Yeah, Naruto said, planting one of his fists into his free palm. Let's go skin a snake. Jutsu list. Edo Tensei. Chidori. Chidori Iso out of Chiori Sharp Spear. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Bijudama. Uzumaki style, seal immolation. Kaiten, great fire destruction. Kaiten, great fireball jutsu. Futon, great breakthrough. Exploding clone jutsu. Tsukuyomi, Amaterasu. Uzumaki style, fire sealer basic, but powerful Uzumaki seal that seals fire and fire-based jutsus. Uzumaki style, demonic extraction seal, a powerful Uzumaki seal that extracts essences of demonic energy or chakra and seals them away. In this case, Naruto used it to reclaim some of Kurama's stolen chakra. Uzumaki style, whirlpool binding, a barrier seal which draws those caught within it towards the center, entrapping them within. Yusho, twin lion's fist. Byakugo, chakra scalpel. Chakra pen, an elementary jutsu for fuinjutsu uses which allows them to use their chakra as a sort of ink when scribing seals. Adamantine chakra chains, not really a jutsu, but Kushina definitely made use of them. Secret Uzumaki fuinjutsu, Soul Forge, one of the 5 secret techniques of the main branch of the Uzumaki clan. This jutsu seals the souls of fellow clansmen into specifically forged swords so that the descendants may call upon their power to guide and aid them. The soul remains contained in the swords until the sword's destruction, typically at the time of the wielder's death. Arashi was a unique case in that the sword transferred down to Naruto, a gift left by Shuichi to aid him. But even then, Naruto couldn't fully synchronize with Arashi, and thus he couldn't bring out the full potential of Arashi. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.